The next machine we're going to try is our Kioptrix level 4, and this machine is a series of Kioptrix. So we're going to try the level 4 now, and let's see, we have the IP address which is 110, and we can see that there is a username and a password. So we can see Craw Security login, copyright 2013, but we're going to try the animation part first. So let's try the nmap. So, and the IP address. Let's try nicked false. $110. So in the nicked side, I can see the server is Apache 2.2.8 Ubuntu server with the PHP version of this, and we can see it's simply crawling all the things one by one. So we have something like this one. Apache negotiation is enabled with which allows the attacker to easily brute force on the server side. Okay, this is normal thing. PHP version is outdated. So over here we can see they find some directories also on the server side, and we have some PHP sessions. So the main objective before exploiting part, let's enumerate more and more things. We can see that we have port number 22, which is your SSH, port 80, 139 with the port which is Samba server, and 445. Okay, so we know we can see that this is a Samba server. So I'm gonna use SC also now. Why I'm using SC? Because I'm gonna enumerate more further things. Let's do an advanced scan. So SC script scan for finding out more extraction of the information. For example, let's see the encryption standard they are using, or we can find something else over here. Let's try, before the applications get started, let's try to get the using the directories on server sides. Again, the Derbuster. Let's go to let's use Derbuster because we want to take a presentation also. So the URL, the number of threads, the browser, user, share, word list, Derbuster, medium, and the PHP according to the server. So let's try this one and start. So our main objective will be to enumerate and extract each and every directories on the server side to use it for the further process. So we can simply look. They have finding some directories, and we can look over here also. Their index images, CGI bin, icon, deck, members, logout, John. I use a directory called John and the directory called Robert. Robert.php, John.php. So what we can try, we can simply see each and every thing has been extracted. But over here, that I can see, this wasn't Samba system. Look, when I simply use SC, I can see the difference over here and over here. In the port 22, I can see which kind of encryption they are using. The port 80, the 139, and the Samba system. So the Samba system name is Kioptrix level 4, and the local domain name, and there are many things. So this is the Samba system. So what we can try Smb Animation Techniques. Why I'm using Smb Animation Technique? Because there is a port number 139 and 445 is open. So we can try further animations. So I'm going to use Smb map to check the allow and disallow directories on the server side. So capital H for host, and the IP address. We can see on the server side there was two directories, which is called print and IPS, which is Samba server, which has no access. Let's specify the port number also. No access. 445. No access. So we can see that we don't go further because there is no access on the server side. There's a print directory and IPC directory. They are not much further. But we can try to enumerate other things, like for example, there is no share folders on the server, but we can enumerate the protocols. So over here, I'm going to use a tool called enum for Linux, or either we can use null session, which is called your RPC client. RPC client is basically used to get a null session on the server side without a username and password. So -u username with the password blank with the server IP address with capital N, no password. Okay, it's not allowing us the null session also. Let's try the enum for Linux command. Enumerate for Linux. So I'm going to use -a and the IP address. So enum for Linux is working and it's enumerating all the things. For example, if you don't know about the Smb animation, you can simply go to the website called Smb Hacking Articles, which is the best website for learning animation parts. Hacking articles from Raj Chandelwal. There are many more things, which is the working of Smb. First of all, you need to understand what is the Smb works, what are the Smb versions plus their operating their versions, what is called banner grabbing, RID cycling, user listing, listing of group and membership information, share information, detecting if a host is a workgroup or a domain, identify the remote operating system, password policy reveal. You can try lots of things. Scanning for Smb vulnerabilities. So you can use animations. There are lots of techniques that you can use because there are lots of other sources on the Google. Either you can use enum for Linux. If you see over here, when I use enum for Linux, I can check all the things which is running on the backend. And nvdstat to check the applications. The workstation is browsing running on the backend is properly. And if you see, if you go down, you will see something like getting SIDs is wrong, platform ID is 400, which is your Kioptrix, and user on Linux server. So we have nobody, Robert, root, John, and Nonefar. Okay, so these were the usernames, which is simply gather. Nobody, Robert, root, John, Nonefar, as we can see over here also. So these were the usernames we can enumerate, and you can see the RID, these relative identification numbers with the buffer memory. Share animation, we can see that the print and IPC was no access. The RID cycling is all running, and we can see the local users, which are only 3. They were Ronefard, Root, and John. So what we can do, we can try SQL injection, authentication bypass again over here. Let's try without the username first. Or function 1 is equal to 1 minus minus space. Oops, something went wrong for the member account. Please check the contact. Okay. We can see that there is a exception over there. MySQL number supplied argument is not valid MySQL, which has a var www.config.php file. So it's revealing some directories on the server side. So what is a check login.php? It reveals some files on the server side. There is no definition of this one. I'm trying a simple login system, and by verify a PHP creating a check login.php file, which has showing us that they have some username and password on the server side. So if I talk about the check login.php contains the database credentials, the local database credentials to log in on the server side. If you see over here on the GitHub script, you will find something like this: the local host with the password root and the username root. So local check login.php contains some configuration files of the databases, and we can see that they're reading some data over here in the var directory www.login.php. So what we can do, we can simply try, if we have the username, if we have the local username, we can try to bypass the password field. So over here, I'm going to try lonify it, and I'm going to try one-on-one query. So let's try it. Or function 1 is equal to 1, 1 is equal to 1 minus minus space. So let's try this one. So it's showing us again something like this. So let's try with the John, I guess. Okay, so when I use John, they showed me some reflection over there. So log out. Let's do John again. And we can see a proper username and a password. This is also a technique of your SQL injection, blind SQL injection. When you have a username, when you have a proper value of first username, but you don't know the password, you can simply bypass the password field. You can try to bypass the password field with the one-on-one query if you have any of the values on the server. So over here we have a username John with the password my name is John. So why this was happening? Because of the weak encryption standard, because they didn't weak misconfiguration files. Because the server side is not validating the client request. It could be anything from the server. So what we can do, we can try the SSH port to connect. So it was John @ IP address, yes, and the password. So what we have over here, Ligot shell is in place so we don't screw up. So type question mark to help to get a list of allowed sessions. Okay, again we are on the R bash. Let's try this one. We have cd, clear, echo, exit, help, lpath, and ls. We can use only these allow files on server. Can we do cd dot dot? When I put a cd dot dot for forwarding path, you have 0 warning left behind being kicked out from the incident that happened. So it means we have some restriction shells on the server side, and we only have these commands to be allowed. cd, clear, echo, exit, lpath. So if I do cd /, then they kick me out from their network. Let's try to communicate with this. So we have some limited functions over here. So what I'm going to try, we are on the shell. We have some restriction shell. For that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to visit a website called Milk. Yes. and Paya2. So we can see, let's try this one. You can see if the commands are limited, you can break the jail shell. So it means if you are in R bash or something, you can use this command to exit the shell. For example, Python-c import pty spawn bin bash to execute bin bash shell. Echo OS system execution bin sh bin bash. So we can write this one also. Echo OS system bin bash. It will execute the bin bash on the server, and we can see that we have an echo command enabled over there. So let's try this command to get a proper bash shell. And we can see that we have a bash because the command will execute bin bash, which will be a TTY on the server side. So over here we can see if I write -ls, can I jump to the directory? Yes, I can able to jump to the directory. So we are on the server side. As per the exploiting part, we can go further, like prior to 6 exploiting parts, we have to further check all these things one by one on the server. Or what we can do, we can try to manipulate further things. For example, as we know that when I simply put a / over there, it showed, when I put a / on both of that, it showed me some error like there is a file of your check login.php on your bad www. So let's see what we can find the check login.php. Before that, let's check what are the applications are running in the server. So I'm going to use netstat antup. So I can see there's a MySQL is also running in the backend. Port 80, 22 is also 137, 138, 168. We can see the MySQL is also running, and that's a good thing. Let's try the application which is running as root services. So ps aux -grep root. So there are lots of applications which is running as root. But if you just check this one, with the super user root permission, user sbin, the super binary MySQL is running with the root privileges, and -user is root. So we can see that the application, MySQL application, is running as root over there with the S binary, the pseudo binary. So as per the data on the var directory login.check.php file, we can simply check these files. So if you go to the Paya2, it will show you all the things one by one. The application which is running on the services, which services are running with the root permission of the services which is available with word double click. What application are installed? You can try lots of other things. Any of the services setting misconfigurations or any other vulnerable attachment, cron jobs, and plain text password on the server side. You can try lots of other things. For my case, we can try to look the file on the server side. For that, I'm going to check each and every services over here. Let's use cd / lsf and all, cd var, cd www, and I can see there was a file which is checklogin.php. Let's check if we can again the usernames. And through this one, when I see it's a local host with the database configuration files which has a username root without a password blank, and the database name is member. So we can see that the application was running as root and the MySQL server is running as a default credentials. So I'm going to use MySQL -u root -p, and we are on the server side. So show databases. Okay, so we can see information schema, members, MySQL. So in the members, I guess there will be John Lonefeld on the server side. So if you see MySQL contains the architecture, or you can say the control of the MySQL server database. So I'm going to use the MySQL database server. show tables. So over here we can see column privileges, DB, function, category, keyword, relations, host, block, privileges, users. So when you are on the server side, if you see over here on the PIA2, application which is running as root. So if you go down PSX when you use grep root, if it shows the service which is running as root, we can execute RBT command using MySQL shell, which will be executed as root. See, as per the data has been MySQL. So you can create a function, do system, integer, sonam, raptor.ufa. You can simply make a class on the temp directory. So it will run as root. But over here, I'm not going to use this technique. I'm going to use the function technique. We have a proper control of the MySQL. We can simply add some shells, but I'm going to use select star from function. And the function directory, you can see there's a libmysql.systeminfo and system execution. We can simply use system execution for giving permission on the server side. You can give any permission on the system. So our main objective will be to give permission on the server to access or give any sudo user. For this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some exploit of my MySQL techniques, and I'm going to use to give permission to the John, and I'm going to add John and an admin user with the help of system executions. From the system execution, it will run as sudo user. So select system underscore execution. I'm going to use the system execution for add my files. So I'm going to give some permissions over here. So I'm going to use user mod function. User mod function to change the privileges of the user. So I'm going to assign all permissions in the group of admin, and the user would be John. So through the system function, what I did, through the system function, I use user mod function and assign all the permission on, and I add him on the user admin group, which is user John. So when I hit enter, I can see the system has been executed properly. And why this is happening? Because the system has been executed with the sudo privileges. So we know that we are user John, but let's see sudo -l with the permission. So my name is John, and I can see with the permission which is grant from the system execution, I grant him all permission. So if he do sudo su, okay, sudo su, he can run sudo users. So the main objective of this machine was the application which is running as root permission. And that's the important thing. That's why the PIA2 and the got milk are the important for pen testing part in manual ways. The server will not vulnerable in the real life scenario, but it will give you a hint how to use the animation techniques on the server. You can use these techniques from google.com, and then you can look for any further things.